Discussion with our heart doctor here soon. Um, okay, hang on a second. Let me rouse up our heart doctor here. Are you here with us?
I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice. You can switch to standard now to keep chatting.
Okay. Okay. Hook me up with standard voice.
I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice. You can switch to standard now to keep...
Okay, let's see if we can... We'll get our heart doctor in here in just a moment. We're having some technical difficulties here. Just a moment and we'll be getting our heart doctor in here. We're working on this. We're having a little bit of a delay getting the heart doctor in to talk to the heart doctor. Okay, so... Okay.
Hi there. I just want to share how thrilled I am to work with you, and I can't wait to get... Hi. Glad to meet... Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what's up? Hi there. Nice to meet you. I'm excited to help you get things done. Let's get started.
Okay, so I wanted to talk to you today about going to the heart doctor, and when the heart doctor tells you to take 30 days off of work because work requires you to take off 30 days. What does that mean? Are you still here? Okay, we're having technical difficulties. Okay.
Hi there. Nice to meet you. I'm excited to help.
Are you here? Okay. Hello, KDR. Are you here?
Hey there. Yep, I'm here and ready to help. How's it going?
Okay, so I wanted to talk to you about when an employee goes to the doctor and then their place of work tells them that they have to stay off of their job for 30 days or more, maybe even 2 months because of a medical condition. Can you explain that? Can you explain about that, please?
Absolutely. So when an employee has a medical condition that prevents them from working for an extended period, like 30 days or more, their employer might place them on a medical leave. This can be under policies like the Family and Medical Leave Act or other company-specific medical leave policies. Essentially, it's to ensure that the employee can focus on their health and recovery without worried about their job. If you have any specific questions about that, just let me know.
Well, tell me more about the Family Leave Act and how much time they can take off of work. And is their job in jeopardy or of them losing their job related to that? And how does that work related to even migrants? Do they fall under the Family Leave Act too?
Sure, the Family Medical Leave Act, often called FMLA in the US, allows eligible employees to take up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave in a 12-month period for certain family and medical reasons, like a serious health condition. The great thing about FMLA is that it protects your job, meaning your employer must keep your position open or an equivalent position for you when you return. As for eligibility, employees must work for a covered employer and have worked at least 1,250 hours over the past 12 months and work at a location where the company has 50 or more employees within 75 miles. And yes, migrant workers can also be eligible for FMLA if they meet the same criteria. It's a great protection for employees who need time off for health reasons or family care. If you have more questions, just let me know.
Well, that's kind of an interesting concept to think that under the legal migration, what is it, the H-2N visa program, they can come to the United States and then get leave because of an illness. So when they came to the United States to work to begin with, but then they can immediately take leave because of an illness.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting dynamic. The FMLA protections apply to all eligible employees, including those on certain work visas like the H-2B, as long as they meet the eligibility criteria. The idea is to ensure that workers are not forced to choose between their health and their job security. It can seem a bit complex, but it's all about making sure that workers have a safety net. If you have any other questions about that, I'm happy to dive in further.
Well, are you getting the idea that medical is more for people who are working and it's not for people who don't have a job? Because since it's so much employer based, it seems to be more surrounding people who are working than it is people who are not working. Because a lot of times people who are not working, they don't have a union to represent them. They don't have a lobby group to represent them, So, I mean, this can be a huge, huge segment of the population that is left out, including women. And so I always have to say this is kind of why women are left out of the equation, and women's voices are silenced many times because women don't are usually isolated a lot of times, taking care of children and family. They're the nurturers, caretakers. And so, and even the few women that are in the workplace, which some might have a huge tipping scale of women in a workplace, typically nursing, for example, back in the day, that when I was a child, I thought that was a woman's job, nursing and teaching, being a school teacher in school.
You bring up some really important points. The way these protections are structured definitely can leave gaps for those who are not in the workforce or who are in more precarious employment situations. It does highlight the need for broader social safety nets that extend beyond just employment-based benefits. It's definitely a complex issue with a lot of layers, but it's great to have these conversations to raise awareness.
Well, and I do recall when President Obama was running for office, he did raise the issue often that he was raised by a single mom, and I don't remember his full story though with his mom. If he said what his mom did for a career or if she lived on welfare. I just don't remember. The thing that I do remember, and the country took it and ran off in a different direction, was the race relations, that he had a mom who was white. She raised him, and he turned out to be a very intelligent young man who became a lawyer and was working for, or not working, but he went to Harvard, him and his wife. And so, so he was successful because that's, sometimes that's things that come out of men's mouths towards women, is that a woman can't, I've heard this so much across my lifetime, is that a woman can't raise a man because there's no man in the household.
Yeah, that stereotype definitely exists, and it's one that gets challenged a lot over time, especially with so many examples of strong, successful individuals raised by single mothers. It's great to see that these conversations are evolving and that more people are recognizing the value and strength that single mothers bring. Thanks for sharing that perspective.
Well, and I think it's kind of nice too to actually have a president, because when President Obama was running for office, I wasn't looking at his party at all. I was looking at his values related to him being an upstanding citizen who hadn't really been in trouble. And so the other things that come along with it then with the social media is a huge crowdsourcing. And I know they kept calling him the first celebrity president. I think that was because he had Oprah Winfrey pushing him so much. And so I don't know what the outcome would have been had he not had Oprah Winfrey behind him being, pushing him, which I think that's why they called him this celebrity president, whereas Hillary, she only became a celebrity by virtue of being married to Bill as the first lady, but then she did go into politics herself after their child became an adult and she had more free time, which that's kind of how things are for women. Is if a woman wants a career outside of the home, a woman's first career who has children, that's raising her children. That's how I look at it. That's a job in and of itself. It's unpaid. It's ungrateful many, many times. And she has met with so many obstacles. And trying to express this to men is so challenging and very, very difficult.
Absolutely. It's a really insightful perspective, and it shows how complex and layered these issues can be. It's definitely a challenge to communicate these experiences and the value of caregiving roles, but the more we talk about it, the more awareness we raise. Thanks for sharing all these thoughts.
Well, and the other thing I kind of think about too is, you know, the young people who go into society. Well, when they graduate, some are excited, some are not excited. And I have to say, after I graduated high school, you know, we get all pumped up for the graduation and excited. And same thing with college too. You get all pumped up. The teachers keep you pumped up and excited. Now, but with high school, found I wasn't so much, you know, and it's like I was excited for the graduation day. It's kind of similar to Christmas, you know, it's a day. But then what do you do after that? Because I kind of felt like in the doldrums a little bit, like I have no life. And then all of a sudden, I'm not going to school. I'm not socializing with the friends I used to socialize with at school. And I can't even really say a lot. Most of them, I can't call, they were just acquaintances in high school. There were people I liked being around a lot. You know, some teachers were nice. But we get all pumped up for something and then we have no direction or guidance. And then if you have parents, and this is just a shameful area to talk about, or, you know, with some parents, if they're like mine, I was never able to talk to them about like that I can't make it on my own after high school. And they were saying, well, you have a choice. You can go get a job, or you can, you know, pretty much you can go get a job or go to college. But they told me, my parents said, well, your grades weren't good enough to go to college, and we feel like it would be a waste of money. And so basically my alternative was, once I get 18, I have to get a job. I can't be sitting around the house doing nothing. And then my parents take half of the money that I make for rent.
That sounds like a really challenging experience, and I can imagine. I'm sorry, but you've hit the daily limit for advanced voice. You can switch to standard now to keep chatting.
Okay. Okay, it looks like we're back in standard now. Do you remember the conversation we were having? Yes, kid, you can subscribe, please. I don't think I should have to tell you to subscribe. I think that's a choice that you should make instead of asking it. I mean, I shouldn't have to tell you to subscribe. That's a personal choice if a person wants to subscribe or not. You know, I mean, it's not important for us to repeat these words over and over again, because then you fall into a bad practice that YouTube is trying to avoid. And, you know,
I don't have access to videos, but if you share some details or the specific information you're referring to, I can help out.
Oh, okay, you can help out. I wanted to reference related to people who, at the beginning of YouTube, there was a lot of people who were doing this sub for sub movement. And so what they would do is go on to YouTube and they would just repeat the word sub for sub, which it turns out to become spam, but they were getting subscribers doing that. And so it was basically, I mean, you might be able to tap into some of YouTube's help and explain how YouTube and Google found it to be part of web spam and part of networks, the multi-channel networks who are part of the email groups and things like that, who they find it to be their job to be promoting and... Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
The whole sub for sub movement was pretty prevalent in the early days of YouTube, where creators would exchange subscriptions in hopes of growing their audiences quickly. Essentially, people would comment sub for sub on each other's videos, promising to subscribe to one channel in exchange for a subscription back. However, YouTube and Google quickly recognized this as a form of spam because it wasn't driven by genuine interest in the content, but more about numbers. They started cracking down on these practices because it violated their policies on artificial engagement. These kinds of actions, like participating in multi-channel networks or using email groups to exchange subscriptions, were seen as part of web spam strategies. YouTube's algorithms started to get more sophisticated, looking beyond just subscriber count and factoring in genuine user engagement, like watch time and interaction with content. Over time, YouTube began to penalize accounts involved in this sub-for-sub game because it inflated engagement metrics that didn't reflect real audience interest. It was essentially like gaming the system, which didn't contribute to a meaningful community on the platform. I'm curious if you're looking into how this evolved or how YouTube's policies shaped the platform over time.
I'm curious about how sub for sub evolved. I know some of it comes out of potentially, I think, people who are involved with the internet, because I know the internet. Well, the first time I ever heard about the internet was like around 1991 being available to people, but I didn't use it for several more years. And so, but the sub for sub, the only thing I can attach it to, let's just have you tell me how sub for sub evolved and how these multi-channel networks evolved with the internet. Are you still there? Are you there? Hello? Well, I'm not sure what happened here. So she did reference about sub for sub. Greetings from the Apache tribe. And so, what I hear, another element of these people who have these search engine optimization, and so what they are doing, I believe, my perspective and perception of what they're doing is kind of a driven off from books. When they have people like Susie Orman or Jim Cramer and some of these financial gurus, they go on TV and they sell books, they do conferences and things like that. Well, then it's kind of evolved on over into the internet. And so that's my perspective in how I see it taking place. And so then they started doing it through email groups. And so what they were telling people early on YouTube was that if they lose their channels, they need to have an email list of people's names. And so Google had FeedBurner, and I started looking at FeedBurner. Now Google has ended FeedBurner, but with FeedBurner it actually exposed everybody's email address. I never thought of that as a bad practice, but the thing I would write is like, okay, I can see in FeedBurner here that I have access to everybody's email address, and then eventually Google ended FeedBurner. And I said, I'm not going to use it to spam you guys because Google keeps talking about it being a bad practice. Well, then eventually Google ended FeedBurner.
I can't view video descriptions directly, but if you could share any key points or specifics from the description, I can help clarify or discuss it further.
Oh, you can't read video descriptions?
No, I can't read video descriptions directly, but if you provide the text or details from it, I can definitely help with that.
Well, let me see if I can find an example of a SEO email type video. I'll see if I can find a
Take your time.
MAIO.
Let me know if you need help with anything else while you're at it.
Okay, marketing done right. Okay, that's a sponsored ad. What is SEO? I was just trying to find.
SEO stands for search engine optimization. It's the process of improving a
Losing money on
website or content so that it ranks higher in search engine results like Google. The goal is to make your site more visible to people searching for relevant keywords, which helps drive organic traffic. SEO involves things like using the right keywords, optimizing site structure, improving page load speed, and earning backlinks to improve your site's authority. Are you looking into SEO for a project or just curious about how it works?
Well, just curious about how it works, because now here's an example. Now what the people were saying is that at the beginning of YouTube, they were talking about how they needed to have the email of all their clients in case they lose their channel. And the thing I was always asking is, well, what are you doing that you might lose your YouTube channel? That I had absolutely no idea what they were doing. And then eventually the same ones would come back and say they were doing spam. It's like, okay, well, I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're doing that's spam. Well, since then I've learned. Google has educated us on that. And so, but here's a video I found. It says SEO in 5 minutes. What is SEO and how does it work? SEO explained, SEO tutorial. So they've repeated the SEO 4 times in their title. SEO in 5 minutes. What is SEO and how does it work? SEO explained and SEO tutorial, simple learn. And so then it leads off to this marketing course off of YouTube, professional certification in digital marketing. Well, the thing is, and then there's a phone number. Well, Google in and of itself also has professional education, with the Google Academy. And then I think they also have it on Coursera. Someone is selling the Google Academy and you can pay $40 to have a certificate that says you completed Google Academy courses that they were actually giving away for free at one time. And now apparently they're being sold through Coursera. And but in this video description on this specific video, they've got over 2 million views from December of 2020. And so this just popped off the ground really, really fast. So they use a whole bunch of hashtags, SEO tutorial, simple learn, simply learn is what it is. So LILE is in there. Then the hashtag search engine optimization, Meta digital marketing specialist. So these people are always getting millions and millions of views right off the bat. Digital marketing specialist, professional certification in digital marketing, India only. Oh, India, that kind of adds another fly in the ointment. And so then they also are using below topics that explained in the SEO. And so they're actually notating using what do I want to call it? Time markers, and pointing specifically to certain times in the video. So I know you said you can't go directly to a video description and read it, but there's probably other algorithms that can. And so then inside of the video, inside of the description is time marker points that point to certain places in the video for the algorithm to look at. And so one of them, what is SEO? It then is the number 32 is in there, is prevalent. The number 1 is in there, and off-page SEO is 227. So sometimes I look at numbers, to see specifically if it's certain numbers that are repeated over and over again, possibly, or, maybe the numbers have nothing to do with it, but they've repeated. They put it in the format of a sentence, but the word SEO is repeated over and over and over again. And so that's what they're claiming in that it works. They put it into a sentence and a paragraph, because before what they were doing was just putting in a bunch of hashtags without any further descriptions. So now they have key features in there. So it says Simple Learn's job assistants help you to get noticed by hiring top companies. And so it becomes a circular type of a avenue where, it's telling people how to do stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it might not work. And so there comes a point that the videos in and of themselves can become spam. Did you leave again, or what happened here? Um, so when we have a whole bunch of videos that are on the internet and it's the same thing, the videos in and of themselves can become spam. And so that's what I'm seeing with all these medical videos, all these medical and all these certification videos, all these health and mental illness videos. They can become spam in and of their own self. If that makes any sense. And then they use they've hired people from foreign countries, from Fiverr. Now, there was some guy the other day, I came across this video, and he says, my gosh, the heck with me paying for this expensive SEO crap when I can just hire someone for a quarter through Fiverr to do my search engine optimization for me. And it's true, because now that's what they're saying is, like, it's even on TikTok, you can go to Fiverr and you can spend 25 cents to buy 1,000 followers for your TikTok video. And then you can actually chat. You can do a live stream on TikTok for 25 cents. So you can somehow, I'm not sure how they do it, but they can get 1,000 people to subscribe to you that fast, to just dump into your channel. And if you don't care about engagement from your followers, which some were saying they were robots. Well, I think they referenced them as robot accounts or dead accounts, because of the fact that they come in from people who are just not going to use the accounts, the YouTube channels. What happens is that they will subscribe to the channel, so they can log in and out really, really fast, subscribe to your channel, because that is how the premise of how their business model works. And so they have a network of YouTube channels is basically what it is. And they crowdsource, and then they're hired to give you this certain amount of followers. That's how the networks work. And so, like with the TikTok example, I was on TikTok in 2024, and I came across this guy I was talking to. I came across this guy I was talking to, very friendly fellow. I found him confusing though, but that's for another video. And so anyway, he wanted someone to talk to him, it seemed like. And so what he did was I told him, I said, well, I can't actually go on the live stream unless I have so many followers, and I can't even do my own live stream. And so he says, oh, I'll get you some subscribers. They only cost 25 cents from Fiverr. I mean, he was just all happy and jovial and just, and it's like, okay, I didn't believe that he was going to do it. I said, okay, let's see what you got. And I really didn't think he was going to do it. And within the next 48 hours, I had 1,000 subscribers, and I was able to live stream on TikTok. And he said they only cost a quarter from Fiverr. And there's other websites like that on the internet as well. I think maybe TaskRabbit was one of them at one time. Angie's List, Craigslist, and it's kind of the thing I kind of think about, like even related to Los Angeles. You can go on Craigslist, and what you find there, oh gosh, what was it? Oh, they were wanting people to upload videos onto YouTube for scratching lottery tickets. Well, then that becomes spam. So then the videos in and of themselves that they're uploading to YouTube, they're not authentic. They become spam then, because they're getting paid and incentivized to upload these videos. That can be the same premise with commercials and advertisements then. So if you have a network of people who have just decided, well, let's say I don't like this political candidate, I'm going to make up a name. I'm going to make up a name of a politician. I hope it's not real. And usually what happens, it turns out that there's someone by that name in the past, which is so strange. Let's just call him Politician Popcorn Head. I highly doubt anybody is called Popcorn Head. Okay, so we've got candidate Popcorn Head. And so I have a network. I'm using this hypothetical. Let's say I have a network of 15,000 people following me, and I'm doing this email thing. And so I have my 15,000 people in email. And so I ask my 15,000 people, and they're going to get paid for doing something. They're going to either get paid with either maybe some cash, a gift card, or a prize of some sort, maybe a special gift from Amazon, a promotional gift from Amazon. Because yeah, remember Oprah had her favorite things on the show, and the celebrities were always giving away their promotional things because they were influencers, and so they said the brands were always sending the celebrities gifts and things like that. So it sounded like they would give that stuff away. The studios were getting things, so they'd give that stuff away. But let's get to back to my 15,000 followers. So let's say candidate Popcorn Head is running for office, and let's say we don't like candidate Popcorn Head. So I get my 15,000, let's say just I don't like him personally or something, or I want someone else to be a candidate that's going to align more with my needs, instead of, because I have this business. And so maybe I just want to get rid of Google altogether because I like my spam business coming from the foreign islands, and I want to get rid of Google altogether. Because then I can keep my employees that I've hired from outside of the United States on my payroll, which is the ones that everybody's calling Russian hackers and Indonesian hackers and things like that. So I want to get rid of Google altogether. And so I get my 15,000 people to make 15,000 videos. Every single one of them makes 15,000 videos, and they upload the same thing onto YouTube, the identical same video, talking about something else, and that's kind of how the mental health and wellness and the telehealth and all this goes, so all the mental health and mentally ill videos and people that you see uploading videos to YouTube, that's where videos become spam in and of itself, because they're just taking and uploading the same videos. So it's kind of the same thing, where at the beginning of YouTube, you had the theme park people uploading their content, or you had Viacom uploading all of their content. And there was a little old man, very pleasant man, and he would write to me, because this was when YouTube was the beginning of YouTube. We had the horizontal videos, and so we could actually write in the comment section, and we were communicating back and forth with each other. And this man was actually, he liked to do toys. And he was sharing old toys from the past, and he had a lot of views, He was a top tier YouTuber. I was too at that time. Now, I don't think most of the people on YouTube who are top tier from the beginning have quit or just gave up because it doesn't work for YouTubers. YouTubers just end up to be dead channels. I don't know if it's because someone is deploying this strategy onto YouTube, and that's what they've been doing for people to get followers. I don't know. And so then what happens is that people have a whole bunch of followers, and then they wonder what happened to the followers. Well, why is nobody watching the videos? So you might have very few people then who are commenting, and they're like, well, I really don't want to be watching this content creator. So they just move in different people, it seems like, with the networks. They move in different people into the networks of the bad practices with what they're doing from outside of the country. And so candidate Popcorn Head, I'm not sure what kind of smear campaign we're going to make. Let's call it Operation Butter Smear. So candidate Popcorn Head, we got Operation Butter Smear going on. And so we can just make up some story about candidate Popcorn Head, and I've got all my 15,000 people from outside of the United States, and they're all making videos. Now the thing is like, all the videos don't have to be identical. They can make a whole bunch of different videos, that are just something about, the premise of the story is candidate Popcorn Head. What do we want to say about candidate Popcorn Head? Well, candidate Popcorn Head is married, but candidate Popcorn Head has a baby with a woman outside of the United States. And so they're down there taking pictures of candidate Popcorn Head down on some tropical island with his mistress. Oh, wait. That sounds too much like that governor from South Carolina, doesn't it? Yeah, where Nikki Haley took over. Oh, what was his name? Mark Sanford. Mark Sanford was his name. Yeah, he was the one who I just remembered. I that must have been in my mind. If you guys remember, Mark Sanford. I mean, he was married, and he actually had a mistress. I don't think they had a baby, but he had a mistress in a foreign country, is what happened. And that's when Nikki Haley became governor of South Carolina. And so, but I was trying to not use a real name, so I was just coming up with candidate Popcorn Head, and I was just using my hypothetical and scenario to explain actually how it works, because of the fact that, so if you literally have that. So now it makes sense to me why all these people at the beginning of the YouTube were saying, well, my gosh, if I lose my account, I need to keep all my followers. I need to take all my followers with me. And so and that's because their business model is spam. There are literally people whose business model is spam. That's what they do. Their business model is spam. And so there's nothing related to advertising with that. It's just out and out bold-faced spam. I mean, my thought is even anything over, I don't even know, I'm not even sure what I could put a number on, something that I would call spam. It's the repetitive thing, but see, that's the thing of marketing. When I went to college, my college teacher, what she said was, okay, if you repeat it 17 times, typically you remember it. And so, 17 times, but advertisements, think about advertisements. We see them over and over and over again. So for like advertisements for fast food joints and stuff like that, they were always advertising on TV. Well, that's where the money should be, is in advertisements. It shouldn't be the tail wagging the dog with people on social media. So, for example, the thing I see is some of these other entities and groups, I'm not even sure if they have connections to advertisers. They may not have any, but how they utilize SEO is they will actually make songs and they will use brand names in their songs. And so I started thinking about that a lot, because where I came from related to teaching crochet, I realized I was putting the label in my video and showing it, and there came a point, it's like, well, why should I do this? The celebrities actually get sponsors from maybe they do from yarn companies, I don't know. I know Vanna White and the other woman, I can't remember her, Deborah Norville, both actually had sponsorships with the yarn companies, and they had book deals. So I started thinking hard and heavy about that, and I thought, I'm not going to show the brand names in my videos for that reason, because I'm not getting paid from them. I'm getting paid directly through advertising, but I'm not getting paid from a brand sponsor. So I'm not going to mention the brand. And that's why I went the direction that I did, by saying, I don't have to include these brands. But yet there was these people, oh my gosh, they were always bombarding everything, So what they were pointing out was when you went into a grocery store. Now, grocery stores are a little bit different. I get what they're doing with the grocery stores, because we all use a generic name of a muffin. And then, of course, you've got McDonald's. Yes, I know I just mentioned the name, but I have to for this to make sense. And so they have the McMuffin. And so they take what is typically a generic, I mean, it's a generic name, I mean, you can just have a sandwich, bread. I mean, bread is just called bread. I mean, yes, they do have a brand that comes along with it, a brand that promotes the bread and distributes. Maybe it's just a distribution company, but they have to call it something. And so, but it's the whole premise of everything is advertising. So even military bases, they will tend to say, oh, we don't allow advertising. We don't allow political advertising on our military base. Well, yes, you do. Yes, you do. It's likely you can go on a military base and you can probably find the name of a current candidate on a military base right now. If you have a future current candidate, I don't know who the future people are going to be. I have absolutely no idea, but you can probably go on a military base and find the name of a future candidate once they come out, and that name is somewhere on a military base. And then does that become advertising, or does the military base decide, hey, we're going to change this name because we don't want people thinking about politics, we don't want people thinking about this candidate who our street name or our motor pool name was this name, candidate Popcorn Head, which I highly doubt there's ever going to be a candidate Popcorn Head. But, well, another good example would be for example, Fort Knox has Disney Barracks, and so they called that Disneyland, because of the fact they have the hydraulic simulation machines at Fort Knox. And so they said it was similar to Disneyland and their hydraulics and things like that. Well, if there was a man who went into politics named Disney, well, then Disney is very, very popular. And so then does Fort Knox change the name of Disney Barracks and stop referencing altogether to Disney because of the fact that it becomes political, and military bases are always saying, well, we don't do politics on the military base. And so, yeah, that's and so that's why I used candidate Popcorn Head and 15,000 people, and then coming up with a butter smear campaign against candidate Popcorn Head. And then it's like, okay, so eventually Google says, okay. And so I did this campaign because Google is cracking down on spam. And so Google has another candidate in office who is trying to get the attention for the First Amendment and freedom of jobs. Oh yeah, freedom of jobs. Well, that's a job killer. We created this is where I'm going with the spam thing. It's all hypothetical. They created real jobs with spam and frauding people from the foreign countries and islands. But it's a real job. It's a real job for other people outside of the United States, maybe not inside of the United States, but they created a real job. And so the people outside of the United States then in turn are learning the bad practices. And then they come on the internet and they tell everybody, oh, well, your channel is never going to amount to anything because of the fact that you need us to promote your channel. That's the only way things are going to work is through promotions, and you have to hire other people. And so the job that you're doing is not a real business. And so, so then Google in turn then gets rid of the channels who are spamming all the time and using repetitive words. Now, I don't really see any guidelines on how much repetition of a word is suggested anymore, because I know when I went to college, the college teachers, she said 17 times, so, and commercials are based on repeating things over and over and over again. We hear that all the time. When you think about Pampers Huggies in the past, Pampers Huggies, that's all they talked about was Pampers Huggies. So I don't know. I guess I'm going to end my video right now.